we had an inmate die. But the inmate didn't die at the jail. And the inmate was no longer an inmate anymore.
Right.
Okay? And that's very important. So fentanyl is a big issue all across the board right now. We're experiencing our fair share of stuff like that too. We had a guy come in. He had overdosed. We released him to the hospital. Well, he died there at the hospital. He was no longer in our custody. He was not a part of us at all. But the trauma of that, we don't talk about it. No. It affects the officers that are dealing with them. You know? And not only that, there's another guy saying, I think he was the same thing. I don't know what actually his cause of death is, but he was only 38. And they found him.
I mean, people make stupid mistakes, and when you're a repeat offender, you get to know these people, and you get to know that
all the time.
Like you're like, it's not. I mean, they have their issues.
Had one the other day come in. I haven't seen him in years, but I know him from the jail, and I saw him, and I was like, hey, let's call him Joe. His name's not Joe, but like, hey, Joe, haven't seen you in forever. And like, we just carried on a conversation. He has 2 new grandchildren. I'm like, how are the grandbabies?
Yeah.
It's just a conversation while I'm booking him in,
They are still people at the end of the day.
They are still people at the end of the day. And he did. And he even said he was in a program. He was like, man, I really like the program that I was in. And I was like, well, what happened? And he got mad at a situation, something happened, there was an argument of some sort, and he did failed a drug test, violation of probation. Now he's back with us.
So
they make stupid mistakes all the time. So we're talking about chance.
And the anxiety and the
trauma.
The trauma.
And how we don't talk about it.
We don't talk
about it. Because the girls are about to go start counseling.
Yeah.
And it's important to talk about. And it's even important in all aspects of life. When things happen, you've got to talk about them.
It don't matter if it's to a friend.
It does not matter.
Get it out
Just talk about it. And the people that were on staff the day that guy passed away, I was talking to them, and they were like, one of the guys was like, I thought we would talk about it more. But nobody's asked me if I'm okay.
That's an issue. No
administration has come to that shift that had to deal with him and go, are you okay? Do we need to get you? And it's not, the thing is it's not counseling or anything. You're not looking at these people and
just
going,
acknowledge it.
Yeah, just acknowledge it. And you're not looking at them and going, hey, we need to do a psych eval. Maybe you don't even need to work here anymore. That's not what we're saying.
You're saying
there are traumas that are happening.
And it might not seem big to you. It might just be small. But that's still trauma.
There are small things and there are big things,
Like, I'm sure Chance's traumatized a kid by throwing a chair. That's trauma to that kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
but talk about it, and that is one thing that really needs to happen. And it's like, man, we got to start talking about things, because holding it in, not discussing it, disassociating, these are things that are not working. And so the goal with this channel is to start talking about things, and hopefully get some interaction from you, the audience, especially if you are in law enforcement, a first responder, if you have a special needs child, whatever. We're going to open up the platform on all levels. I don't care if you're an attorney, a judge, a law enforcement officer, military. I don't care if you work in dentistry, which, by the way, has the highest suicide rate. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No.
That's fun fact. Dentistry has the highest suicide rate. Law enforcement, military, and first responders are next.
Yeah, I can see that.
I did not know dentistry was number one. They cause pain.
Oh, they do. They do.
They are inflicting pain on people daily.
That's true.
I didn't know that. I never thought about that. My wife's She's a dental
Winning.
hygienist, and she's the one who brought that to my attention. And I was like, nuh-uh.
No, you
Fun
lie.
fact, look it up. It is true. Yeah, I was like, no. What trauma do y'all have? You put a needle in somebody's mouth. Actually, that would traumatize me a little bit because I don't like needles, don't like blood, don't like the mouth area.
I don't either. I couldn't do it.
One of our officers, we were searching a guy, and he had false teeth. Well, you have to search the teeth, okay? And she was like, you do it. And I was like, no. I did my time. It's your turn. You're younger. You're the younger CO.
You do it.
You do it. You do it. I've searched plenty of nasty things. No.
I'm good.
And that was funny because she was like, oh, I was thinking about becoming a dental hygienist. And I was like, you got to deal with people's mouth. Like, do you really want to do that? And she was like, no. And I was like, I think we just changed your field. Are you worried about Chance when he becomes an adult? Because you've already had to deal with law enforcement a lot with him and his behavior and how he becomes violent.
And he like doesn't remember what happens because he blacks out.
Really?
Yeah, so he won't remember anything he did.
So he'll destroy everything
and then have no clue what happened.
And then he comes back and he's like, why is the house like tore up from the floor?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was before we got him the help. So
what
I mean,
now?
He's been to a behavioral therapist since he was 5. But he was doing his autism stuff until then. And then when he got diagnosed and stuff with ODD, we had to get the behavioral therapist, and then we did that. Then we got to a point to where we couldn't help him anymore, and they couldn't either. And so we had to, I mean, it was bad. He was getting suspended from school 2 or 3 times a week.
Really? Mm-hmm. So what is your, again, back to that, your concern for him when he becomes an adult?
I would love to see him to be able to.
Because at 18, I know. And that happens a lot for me to deal with, or anybody that's a CO. Like, they come in, there's these adults that there are special needs.
There's no resources a lot of the times for when you turn 18, and then you're just pretty much told to figure it out.
Well, and then you have parents too who are...
They're done.
They're done, but they're also older. I remember we had an older gentleman who he had gotten into a car wreck. It damaged his brain. And also I think it also kind of, it didn't paralyze him, but it paralyzed him. Like, he could still maneuver, but he couldn't walk.
Gotcha.
Like you and me, but he could kind of raise up, and he could, there was things that he could do. But his mom was much, much older, but she could no longer care for him, and he would get violent because his brain had been damaged. So he would get angry about things, and she would call the police, and then they would take him to us. That's the cycle. Don't call 911. I mean, in an emergency, yes, please call 911. It's just...
But I mean, it's hard, and it's hard to get placement. So like
why? Explain that. Please explain
because
that.
there's such a need. So Chance went to a facility in Travelers Rest, South Carolina.
Let me stop you for 1 second before we go there, because I need to explain something before you get there.
Okay.
So a lot of these places, and I know this from dealing with this, a lot of these places, once they go to jail, they don't want anything to do with them. Mm-hmm. You already knew that?
Yeah, that's the issue.
That is an issue. There shouldn't be. Did you know? I didn't know this. Okay, I'm going to praise hospice, but I'm also going to say that this is an area that they can do better. Okay? I love hospice. I think that they handle it great. They give their people counseling. There's a lot of things that they do for their people. So, but if somebody is on hospice care and goes to jail, they stop hospice care.
It's insane. That's insane.
It is. It's. I don't think that that's right.
No.
There's got to be something else.
We gotta do better.
There's a niche here that needs to be filled.
Yeah. Well, like in our area,
Need.
Like
There's
with
a need here.
Special needs kids, like you can get help from like age, 2 to 12, and then there's from like 13 to 14. There's nothing.
So there's a year.
There's like a year or two where there's like a huge gap of need, and then it doesn't pick up until a few years later. And I'm like, what about the time you need it the most, when their body's changing, they're going through all their hormones? I've not been able to find us any yet.
And their hormones are going crazy.
They are. And so like with Chance,
I mean, I think about how hard it was just for me. Think about it. When you were that age,
yeah. Oh God.
Like, yeah, like things like, it's just, oh my gosh, you're figuring yourself out.
Yeah.
You know,
like
things are just
out.
not going well.
No. No, and like with Chance and having to go to that facility, we really kind of didn't have an option. The school kind of said he had to go to residential or he won't be able to go back, which was fine with me. I was on board. It was not fine for Jason. He struggled with that because he felt like, he could take care of it, but he couldn't. I mean, we tried, obviously, and it was also, I guess, a fear of the unknown, what was going to happen to him. Kind of, because he went to acute residential and he was gone for 3 months.
But you said that Jason didn't want him to go.
He did not at first. No.
But you're like, you're not here.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, I'm making this choice because I can't do it anymore by myself. I'm not saying that he didn't help, because when he was home, he tried to help.
And you had the support system.
And I had the support system, but even that support system was done. I mean,
that's crazy because there are people who are really 100% alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. And then the thought of sending your child away, and I'm talking about hours away, he was 4.5, 5 hours away from me. And I only got to see him once a week. I got to talk to him. So we got to...
Did you ever cry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, a lot. I mean...
Like your heart broke.
Yeah. But and then at the same time, you feel relief. And then you feel guilty.
But you feel guilty for the relief.
Because you're feeling the relief. And you're like, I can breathe. Like, I can actually breathe and not have all this anxiety on me. So the guilt does come in. But I mean, at what point do you say it's enough and we got to get help? Or he's seriously going to hurt somebody or himself? It's time. And so we were beyond that point.